Welcome back to True Crime After Dark, where we dive deep into the darkest corners of the human mind and uncover the chilling stories that haunt families, communities, and sometimes even decades of police files. Tonight's story is not just about a murder. It's about jealousy. It's about betrayal. And it's about how a brilliant young woman's life was cut short, while her killer walked free, hidden in plain sight, for more than 2 decades. This is the story of Sherri Rasmussen. Sherri Rasmussen was born on February 7, 1957, in Loma Linda, California. She was a shining light from the moment she entered the world. From the very beginning, those who knew her described her as gifted, driven, and radiant. The kind of person who seemed destined to leave a mark on the world. Her parents, Nels and Loretta Rasmussen, instilled in Sherri a strong sense of kindness, faith, and ambition. The Rasmussen home was one filled with love and high expectations. She was the oldest of 3 daughters, and she embraced that role, often protective of her younger sisters, always encouraging, and always pushing herself to achieve more. By the time she was in high school, Sherri's intelligence stood out. She excelled in academics and had a natural leadership ability that inspired others. Her teachers described her as the student who not only knew the material, but wanted to teach it back to others. But Sherri wasn't just book smart. She was also vibrant, social, and compassionate. She had a wide circle of friends, and she was always the first to volunteer to help others. Those close to her say that smile could light up an entire room. By her late teens, Sherri was already setting her sights on a career in healthcare. For her, it was a calling, not just a job. She enrolled in Loma Linda University, where she pursued a nursing degree with passion. Her professional ascent was meteoric. At just 29 years old, Sherri had already become the director of nursing at Glendale Adventist Medical Center, a position of immense responsibility where she managed critical departments and was respected by all who worked with her. With her career flourishing, the final piece of her perfect life seemed to fall into place. In 1984, Sherri met a man named John Ruetten through mutual friends. He was young, handsome, athletic, and easygoing. John was a UCLA graduate working in the tech industry, and he was completely captivated by Sherri's intelligence and warmth. Their courtship was a whirlwind romance, and just a year later, in 1985, the couple married, exchanging vows and promising a lifetime together. They were ready to build a life together. But in the shadows of this love story, someone else was watching. Before Sherri, John Ruetten had been in a serious relationship with another woman. Her name was Stephanie Lazarus. They met at UCLA, where both were standout athletes. Stephanie was ambitious, strong-willed, and fiercely competitive. Their romance was intense, but after graduation, John felt it had run its course and broke things off. For Stephanie, however, the story wasn't over. She never quite let go. Even after John met and married Sherri, Stephanie continued to insert herself into his life, making unannounced visits to their home and tearful phone calls to John at work. Publicly, Stephanie was building an impressive career with the Los Angeles Police Department, where she was seen as a dedicated officer. But privately, her obsession with John festered. Sherri was aware of Stephanie's lingering presence. She confided in family and colleagues that she felt deeply uneasy about her husband's ex-girlfriend. Her concern grew so great that she delivered a chilling premonition to her father. "If anything happens to me, Stephanie would probably be responsible." On the morning of February 24, 1986, John Ruetten left for work from their shared condo. Sherri, a respected director of nursing, stayed home. She had strained her back and planned to rest. Later that day, when calls to the couple's home went unanswered, a sense of unease began to grow. When John returned home that evening, he found the garage door mysteriously open. Inside, what he walked into was every husband's worst nightmare. Sherri was on the living room floor, lifeless. She had been brutally beaten, bitten on her arm, and shot 3 times in the chest. The crime scene appeared chaotic, furniture overturned, and the couple's brand new BMW was missing. The lead detectives quickly concluded it was a burglary gone horribly wrong. But there were details that didn't add up. Nothing of significant value like jewelry or electronics was taken. And Sherri had extensive defensive wounds, indicating she had fought back fiercely for her life. The most unusual piece of evidence was a swab taken from a vicious bite mark on her arm. At the time, it was a clue with nowhere to lead. In 1986, DNA technology was in its infancy. Without a suspect to match the bite mark to, and with the prevailing theory of a random burglary, the investigation stalled. The case went cold. For years, Sherri's parents, Nels and Loretta Rasmussen, relentlessly pushed the LAPD for answers, convinced the burglary theory was a mistake. John, haunted by the horrific memory of that night, eventually left Los Angeles. Meanwhile, Stephanie Lazarus moved on with her life. She married another police officer, adopted a daughter, and climbed the ranks of the LAPD. She became a respected detective specializing in art theft, a world away from the violent crimes she had committed. It wasn't until 2009, when the LAPD cold case unit began re-examining older files with new DNA technology, that the truth began to resurface. Detectives reopened the Rasmussen file. They pulled the evidence, the bite mark swab, clothing, and other biological samples collected back in 1986. This time, science had caught up. Forensic experts tested the DNA, and what they found was shocking. The DNA was from a woman. One afternoon, they followed Stephanie to a Costco. While she shopped, she grabbed a soda and tossed the straw into the trash. Detectives moved in immediately and collected it. The DNA on that straw was tested. It was a perfect match to the DNA left in the bite mark on Sherri Rasmussen's arm. In June of 2009, Stephanie Lazarus was arrested for the murder of Sherri Rasmussen. The arrest shocked the Los Angeles Police Department. How could one of their own, a detective who had built a respected career, be accused of such a heinous crime? But as the evidence was presented in court, the picture became clear. Prosecutors detailed how Stephanie had been obsessed with John Ruetten, how she had refused to let go of their college romance, and how she resented Sherri for marrying him. In March of 2012, they returned with their verdict. Stephanie Lazarus was found guilty of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to 27 years to life in prison. Sherri Rasmussen was just 29 years old when her life was taken. She was a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a leader in her field as the director of nursing at Glendale Adventist Medical Center. She was a woman who believed in kindness, in helping others, and in living a life of purpose. Her family remembers her intelligence, warmth, and infectious laugh. What do you think about this shocking betrayal and cold case? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories. At the sentencing, Sherri's family painted a vivid picture of the woman they lost. They spoke of her infectious laugh, her sharp brilliance, and her dedication as a nursing director. The love she gave so freely was a recurring theme. Though justice was finally served, nothing could bring her back. Still, her family holds on to the belief that her light would never truly fade. If this story moved you, share your thoughts on the case below and subscribe so you never miss our next investigation. Sherri Rasmussen should be remembered not for the brutality of her death, but for the vibrant beauty of her life. May she finally rest in peace.